I want to recognise the Minister for Industry, Science and Technology, Karen Andrews. This is Karen's second visit here. We really like it when people come back, so keep doing that. We look forward to seeing you again. And of course, His Excellency, the Australian High Commissioner to Singapore, Mr. Bruce Gosper, is a very, very frequent visitor to our campus, and we thank you for that, Bruce. And of course, our Chancellor, Mr. Bill Trudell, thank you, Chancellor, for being here, and our Vice-Chancellor and President, Professor Sandra Harding. So I can tell you this, there's probably nobody in this room more excited and happy about what we're launching today. And I think it'll herald a new era for James Cook University in Singapore and for James Cook University overall. So it'll just be a great day, and we look forward to this initiative growing and growing and growing the perception of James Cook University here in Singapore. However, we're on a very tight timeline, so it's my pleasure to invite the Australian High Commissioner, Bruce Gosper, to say a few words. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Dale, and Minister, Bill Trudell, Sandra Harding, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I just want to do three things before you hear from some much more important people. The first thing I want to do is just talk a little bit about the Festival of Innovation, of which this is part. I think this is activity number 37. We have one tonight and then a couple tomorrow. So we've run more than 40 events, 4,000 people have participated. It's been a big program. Why have we been doing this? Well, partly it's to recognise, underpin, showcase the excellence of Australian science. And there's a lot to demonstrate, as I'm sure you're aware. The fact that we've had 15 Nobel laureates, the fact that we've got research institutions like the CSIRO and our universities, the sorts of inventions and innovations that have come out of Australia, cervical cancer vaccine, Wi-Fi, ultrasound scanners, black box flight recorders. The list goes on, many, many areas, which I think sometimes surprise people. Some of them are listed in the Straits Times today, if you look at the article that we've put there. So it's a very impressive story, but others are working very hard in this market as well. So we need to do our part to ensure that people appreciate the understanding of how strong we are in this area. But the second part of that, of course, is to remind Australians about the impressive ecosystem that Singapore has built here. Its universities are first class. The innovation ecosystem that's created is very effective. The collaboration with the multinational corporations here is a terrific opportunity. And then, of course, recognising our good science and what Singapore has established, how we can better partner. And there's immense opportunity here for Singapore to contribute to solving our problems, for us to contribute in solving Singapore's problems, and together to collaborate around the region and its opportunities. Immense challenges of all sorts, of course, it's part of that. So that's why we've been doing this. It's a very significant activity. We've been very grateful for the support that we've received, including from James Cook University as one of our platinum sponsors. And we've had a number of events here, as you know, and we've done our best to support JCU in that activity. But we do have ambitions for going forward, and we're very pleased that the Minister's been able to come here as her first international visitor as Minister for Industry and Science, to see what's going on and to make her own judgments about how we move forward. The second thing I want to say is Australian universities are well established in Singapore, more than 20 of them now teaching, and they've done an impressive job in building the capability of this place, but also, of course, the people-to-people links. Around about 200,000 Singaporeans have graduated from an Australian university. But from what I've seen, no one holds that flag more capably than JCU. You are a terrific university. I didn't realise how good you were until I came here, and I saw the capability, the competence, the engagement, the vibe when you walk around this facility of the way the students engage with their teachers. So you fly the flag very well in Singapore, And, you know, you're doing an even more impressive job by establishing the Tropical Futures Institute. I know that this is something that Sandra Harding has a lot of passion for. I've heard her speak on many occasions about how a third of Australia is in the tropics, and what a challenge and an opportunity there is globally around this region of the world, and how we can contribute, how science, including the science of JCU, can contribute to that. So you fly that flag very well for Australia here in Singapore, and you're doing even more to take that forward. So well done to JCU, and it's a real pleasure to be here at the launch of your Tropical Futures Institute. And the third thing I'd like to say, if I may, is to congratulate Dr. Dale Anderson for his contribution to the work of JCU here in Singapore. I won't embarrass him too much, but no one knows how this place works. Every place, of course, has got its tricks and its intricacies and its local culture around education, and it's not always straightforward in any jurisdiction, but Dale has been a great advocate and supporter of the Australian education sector as well as JCU here in Singapore, and we appreciate the contribution he's made over a significant period of time and wish him well for the rest. So with that, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy this launch. I hope those of you who are joining us tonight for the gala dinner will find that a fun occasion, and I can assure you that the High Commission looks forward to continuing to engage with and to support JCU in its work here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, High Commissioner, for those words. And now it's my extreme honour to invite the Minister, Minister Karen Andrews, to say a few words. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dale. It's an absolute pleasure to be back at this campus here in Singapore. Can I acknowledge Australia's High Commissioner and also the Chancellor, the Vice-Chancellor of James Cook University, and of course Dale, who was a fabulous host the last time I was here at this campus. Can I also acknowledge all of the very special guests and participants who are here today? As you've heard, this is actually my first international visit as the Minister for Industry, Science and Technology. I'm delighted that it's back to Singapore. I have visited here on a number of occasions previously as either the Assistant Minister for Vocational Education or the Assistant Minister for Science. I'm also delighted that my first international event is here at James Cook University. And I should say that I'm pretty confident that the first university that I visited in Australia as the Assistant Minister for Science was James Cook University's Townsville campus. And I remember that very distinctly, not only because of the fabulous welcome that I was given, but also as a North Queenslander. I grew up in Townsville. It was fabulous to see how far James Cook University had come from the days that I remember, where it was really only one or two buildings back many years ago when I first saw James Cook in Townsville. So congratulations to James Cook University for their very long and distinguished presence in Australia, and of course now in Singapore. So I am immensely proud of what James Cook University has been able to achieve, particularly its impressive global rankings and its research leadership in addressing some very multifaceted challenges of the world's tropics, particularly in relation to health, medicine and biosecurity, conserving ecosystems, the impacts of climate change, and more broadly, the industries, economics, peoples and societies of the tropics. In earning its reputation for excellence and innovative approaches in these areas, JCU is known for its strong engagement with industry and government, its competitive commercialisation of research and its academic partnerships. And they are all things that we as a government in Australia absolutely value. JCU's approach is certainly very evident as it has extended its reach into the Asia-Pacific region, and 15 years ago set up its first international campus here in Singapore. Now in 2018, the opening of the Tropical Futures Research Institute is a natural progression of JCU's footprint. As the first ever research institute established by an Australian university in Singapore, JCU is leveraging off its research capability and strengths in science, health and the social sciences, and in doing so it's adding substantial value to the research ecosystem of Singapore and the ASEAN region. Importantly, as the Institute's first focus, JCU's renowned capacity for high quality and industry-linked research and training in tropical aquaculture will be applied to the sustainable production of aquaculture species. With the rising demand for sustainably farmed seafood, this will further strengthen JCU's science and technology know-how in this fast-growing industry and affirm its position as a leader in the region. JCU, as I've indicated, has done some tremendous work in Australia, in the northern parts of Australia. We see its engagement with Singapore as crucial to expanding Australia's reach into areas that are very significant for Australia and the Australian government. We know that they have been very keenly involved in the development of the white paper on developing Northern Australia. They play a key part in that. I commend them on their efforts, and I can assure you that I look forward to working with you to make sure that James Cook University continues on its stellar trajectory. It is my very great pleasure to be here today to be part of the opening ceremony. I wish James Cook University all the very best in its endeavours, and again, it's a pleasure to be here.
Minister, thank you very much for that really well-informed speech, and if you want another job sometime, you can come and advertise JCU for us. He did a great job. So we'll welcome you back next time you come. It's now also my honour to welcome the Provost of James Cook University, Professor Chris Coughlin, who's really been a major part in the development of this research institute. So it's with great pleasure I ask Chris to say a few words and to really put some meat on the bones about what this institute is. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Dale. Minister, thanks for your opening remarks. Can I also acknowledge His Excellency Mr Bruce Gosper, the High Commissioner, the Vice-Chancellor, the Chancellor, the Deputy Chancellor of the University. Can I also acknowledge Dale as our host here at JCU Singapore. I'd also like to acknowledge Professor Dean Jerry, who is the Dean of Research here at the Singapore campus, and Dean's done a material job in delivering what we're celebrating here today. So congratulations to you, Dean, and the team. So in my capacity as the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Research, I wear multiple hats at the university. It is a moment of tremendous pride and with a sense of great accomplishment that we are launching the JCU Tropical Futures Institute, centred here at our campus. And as the Minister's acknowledged, this is the first research institute established by an Australian university in Singapore. For the benefit of those people who are not members of the JCU community, I should point out that a research institute sits at the apex of our institutional research architecture. Institutes are the university's peak research bodies. At a personal level, I'm reflecting a little bit today on the significance of the timing of this launch. I remember very well that it was exactly 10 years ago, in 2008, that the Vice-Chancellor and I were visiting our campus in Singapore, and it was then based in the Spring Building, as folk here will well remember. And the Vice-Chancellor hosted one of her staff forums, as she does on a regular basis. And at that staff forum, one of our members of staff asked the question of the Vice-Chancellor about a research trajectory for the Singapore campus. And at least for me, and I believe also for the Vice-Chancellor, that was a catalytic moment in terms of the commitment to achieving a substantive research standing for the university in Singapore. We very much wanted our campus here to be an authentic university campus in every possible respect. And so over the ensuing years, bit by bit, piece by piece, we've been working collectively to achieve that aspiration. That we were able in 2011 to acquire full ownership and control of the Singapore campus was a threshold moment in the evolution of the campus here. But before and after that, we have been progressively putting in place the important elements of building our research capability here in Singapore. For example, increasingly our staff have been PhD qualified, and they've been appointed as continuing members of staff. They are not casual members of staff. We've been able to attract research active staff, and a number of academic publications by our staff have continued to grow. Indeed, at one point, our staff here were producing on a per capita basis more publications than our staff in Australia, an impressive statistic. And staff have been very successful also in attracting and applying for research funding. We then took the step of appointing senior research leaders to guide and oversee the growing research business, and momentum increased. In 2014, I and some others undertook a review of the research and the research education activities here at the Singapore campus. And in the report on that review, we foreshadowed the establishment of a significant research presence in the form of a research centre or an institute to be based here at Singapore. A newly appointed Dean of Research took up the mantle, and by 2016 the financial commitment had been made by the university that we would deliver a research institute for our Singapore campus. From that time and ever since, some important principles have guided our way in developing the institute. First and foremost, and as the Minister has acknowledged, JCU will continue to be a university that is research intensive, commanding international respect and reputation for those things that we do very well. Our positioning in the international university rankings give expression to the fact that we have been successful in meeting that aspiration. Secondly, and with a view to our position in Singapore particularly, we apply the principle that what we will develop here will build off those very same strengths that have established JCU as a research university of international standing. Thirdly, we acknowledge with the greatest respect what Singapore has achieved as a global hub for education and research. Our aspiration is to complement that achievement by bringing to bear those strengths within JCU in order to materially add value to the achievements of Singapore's outstanding universities and their other research institutions. What that means is that we will be guided very much by the principle of adding value, of understanding what domains we can bring our expertise to bear, such that it adds to the stock of research capability that resides right here. And so, by way of principle, JCU will be explicitly guided by the priorities and aspirations of Singapore as a nation and Singapore as a community in terms of what we are contributing to research. Value adding sits at the heart of what we aim to achieve here. I hope that you will agree that we now see this in the early development of the Tropical Futures Institute, and particularly through its focus on, in its first iteration, on tropical food security and aquaculture in particular. JCU, as the Minister has acknowledged, is one of the world leaders in aquaculture research. We rank amongst the top 5 institutions in the world. We pride ourselves on bringing cutting-edge science to what is, in many places, still a cottage industry. The global significance of aquaculture as a food source grows day by day. Fish products now deliver somewhere in the order of 20% of all animal protein globally. And when we look to regions such as Southeast Asia and more broadly, it is much higher than that. Indeed, in some nations in this particular region, fish delivers close to 80% of the total protein consumed, animal protein consumed. It's absolutely imperative that we transform this industry on the basis of high-quality science to improve production, to meet consumer demands, to develop more sustainable forms of production, and to reduce susceptibility to disease and increase economic value. What we know is that this is achievable, and JCU takes great pride in the fact that we're bringing the best science to an industry of such great importance now and certainly into the future. The aquaculture team based here in Singapore has already made great strides under the auspices of the Tropical Futures Institute. Valuable partnerships have been formed with industry and with government, and you see for your very own eyes here the development of our new state-of-the-art teaching and research laboratories. We are confident that JCU's investment in food security through aquaculture will help establish Singapore as a global centre point of research and learning on one of the most important food industries now and into the future. The The aquaculture theme within the Institute is the complete expression, in my view, of those principles under JCU's investment and research in Singapore, and I congratulate the team for what has been achieved thus far. I also look forward with great anticipation to what we will be able to do to help serve Singapore's ambitions in research delivery. So now I would like to foreshadow what the Tropical Futures Institute will deliver next. What is the next plank in our grand plan? The next theme to be developed within the Institute, which I am very happy to announce today, will be titled Health Promoting City for Older Citizens. Underpinning this will be JCU's established excellence in public health, in healthcare and support services, and what this expertise can deliver to ageing populations. In Singapore, the proportion of citizens who are now aged 65 years and older has been increasing from 12.4% in 2014 to 14.4% in 2017, almost 2% in just 3 years. By 2030, it is projected to reach 19%. Apart from the many other challenges, an ageing population is associated with an increased burden of non-communicable diseases, with over 2/3 of older Singaporeans suffering from at least one chronic condition. The Government of Singapore has recognised the need for new approaches to support healthy ageing of the population through initiatives such as the Healthcare 2020 Master Plan, which identifies that an ageing population will be a strong driver for healthcare demand, including for chronic disease management, and the more cost-effective models of care will be required, including the importance of primary healthcare and team-based care management models, so that more patients will be able to receive affordable, accessible and quality care within the community. And the Singapore Government has also released its action plan for successful ageing, including initiatives addressing health and wellness, learning, volunteerism, employment, housing, transport, access, public spaces and so forth. Building on our capabilities and with a view to the priorities that have been expressed by the Singapore Government, JCU aims to establish the Health Promoting City for Older Citizens theme within the Tropical Future Institute here at our campus. We will utilise health systems intervention research to develop innovative and culturally appropriate interventions, models of care and activities to support healthy ageing and health promotion, with a longer-term focus on the potential of new technologies to support healthy ageing. The Institute will also incorporate health economics, evaluation and the analysis of healthy ageing activities. Ladies and gentlemen, it is exactly a decade ago that I participated in the JCU staff forum here, in which a question from a member of staff catalysed our commitment to seeing us establish a research presence in Singapore, of which we would be proud and which would authentically contribute to the aims and ambitions to the people of Singapore. It's therefore with great pride that I now participate in the launch of a JCU Research Institute, the Tropical Futures Institute, here at the Singapore campus. It is already, and it will continue to be, an institute that builds from those areas of research capability in which JCU has international credibility and which also responds to the priorities and interests of Singapore. In food security through aquaculture, and in the prospective development of a capability in healthcare for ageing populations, I hope you will agree that we've made a mighty good start. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests.
Thank you very, very much, Professor Cochran, for those words. It's now my pleasure to invite the Minister, the Vice-Chancellor, the High Commissioner and the Chancellor up to do the official opening. Okay, well, so far we're up to time. We have a tradition at James Cook University, which has been long held, that the Vice-Chancellor has the last word. So it's my extreme pleasure as well to invite Professor Sandra Harding up to say a few words. So thank you, Sandra.
And you stole my line. That was exactly what I was going to say. I think it's a very pleasing tradition, quite frankly, that the Vice-Chancellor always has the last word. First of all, if I can say thank you, Dale, for that introduction. Thank you, Minister Andrews. We are really so very pleased that you could be here today. You do us a great honour to be here and to officially open our institute. We know you're here for a short period of time. We know it was touch and go, so we're really very grateful to you. I just want to add on the idea of firsts. For example, we heard today that this is the first international visit of Minister Andrews. Just Tuesday, week ago or fortnight ago, I can't quite recall, but the very first visit by Prime Minister Morrison to a university campus was at JCU in Cairns. So he was there and affirmed a commitment to the Cairns Institute, which focuses on research in the humanities and social sciences in particular, and we were delighted to have him straight off the plane pretty much, I think, from Indonesia, where he'd signed the comprehensive strategic partnership there. So a first, and so we're very delighted with that. I am pleased to be able to make some remarks as well, just to acknowledge this particular occasion. And of course, I want to acknowledge the High Commissioner, the Chancellor and the Deputy Chancellor, and all of our colleagues here today as well. It is an important occasion. This opening is significant. It's significant for our presence here in Singapore, but also because this is a move which will create substantial value add, which is what the Provost indicated to you before, to the ecosystems, the research ecosystems of Australia, Singapore, ASEAN, and to the region, indeed to the tropics worldwide. We are a university that's charged with a focus on the tropical world, and what better place to do that from than Northern Australia and right here in Singapore. That is our special focus. We have been here since 2003, as you've heard, and that signal moment I recall too, Chris, very strongly about research. Part of the challenge for us when we were not a wholly owned enterprise, as it were, when we had a commercial partner, around the board table, we had innumerable conversations, and I'm looking at Tricia Brand, who was very much a part of that, innumerable conversations with the commercial partner about why would you do research? What's the ROI on research? And part of the conversation and what we would say back is that this is our DNA. This is what universities do. They do research that matters in terms of their own trajectory, their own set of principles and requirements, but of importance to the places in which we operate. And our staff, I know, are just as enlivened by those sorts of that activity as they are by anything else. But we were enabled very much by that buyout in 2011, and it was a signal moment for us. We are very proud of the work that our colleagues do in aquaculture and in health, and I saw Louis Schofield at the back there somewhere too. The head of the Australian Institute of Tropical Health and Medicine is here as well. And we are so much looking forward to being able to express those, plus potentially in future other elements of genuine research excellence right here in Singapore. We are working with our colleagues here in Singapore, and we can and should look forward to the Tropical Futures Institute helping us to continue to deliver that world-class research for Singapore, Australia and the tropical nations worldwide. So look, I don't want to prolong this beyond what we need to do. I'm eager for you to have a bit of a look at our new facility and to understand a little bit more about what it is we're going to be doing here, and I know the Minister's on a tight schedule. But I also want to take this opportunity to commend our JCU Singapore colleagues, particularly Dale Anderson, our Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Head of Singapore Campus, who will be retiring at the end of this year, and I know we'll have many opportunities to acknowledge Dale's amazing contribution since 2006, leading this particular campus. I want to acknowledge Kelvin Liu, our Chief Operating Officer. So Kelvin will be here somewhere. Where's Kelvin? Probably worried about the circuit. There he is, worried about making sure that everything goes well. I want to acknowledge Kelvin. I want to acknowledge the broader JCU team. Pinky, who's here, who's done so much of the work as well. I also want to acknowledge the Dean of Research, Professor Dean Jerry, for helping us to realise this day in our history. And that is what today is. This is an important day in our history, and it's one that we will look back on, I'm sure, with a quiet pride, because we are looking to not only this day, we are looking to realise the benefits, the value-adding benefits that this institute will provide to the national talent pool and to the research endeavour here in Singapore, even as we're leveraging what it is we do in Australia. So once again, thank you, Minister Andrews, for doing us the great honour of being here today and formally launching our institute. And thank you all, one and all, for your attendance today and for your ongoing support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice-Chancellor. So the formal part of this activity is now over. We have some light refreshments, but more importantly, we have the offer of a tour around our campus. We love to show people around our campus. For those interested in aquaculture, there is nobody on this earth who knows more about it than Dean Jerry, and he's here if you want to discuss that with him, and the other academics here as well, all experts in their field if you wish to speak to them. So please, enjoy the light refreshments, have a look around the place, and once again, thank you very much, Minister Andrews, for being here. We hope we see you here again soon. Thank you.